Thank you, Dickie. Morning, ladies and gentlemen. Just to kick off, I just want to apologize for being late. I also want to point to the fact that I was not the one that was the latest. Okay, there were people after me. Right. I'd like to share with you as a kickoff just experience I had. I was fortunate enough to be invited as a guest speaker to what they called Listen Up, hearing conservation get-together from a lot of experts around the world. It was a conference set up, the first European hearing conservation conference that was set up and was hosted by the Health and Safety Laboratory of the UK. So all the very clever people were around there. I was invited to give a bit of a South African deep-level mining experience because they've never heard that before. So here's a couple of the takeaways that I took away from there. There was a lot of papers about noise and hearing conservation, but it was mostly about surface industry. And one guy stood up and was quite gung-ho and said, all you oaks don't really want to fight noise because we can silence anything. And you guys just jump to PPE. And he showed a couple of examples of machinery that they silenced in factories. And I was quite impressed. Really, the guys have got amazing technologies and things that they're busy with. So my first thought was, well, I've got to go and speak to this guy. But before I spoke to him, I had to do my presentation. So I stood up and I did my presentation, and I started with some of the challenges, and I said, well, we mine this deep, and we've got confined spaces, we've got reverberation, we've got cumulative noise, we've got rock drills, that the collaring does this type of noise, and I did the whole spiel. And after my presentation, during a break, I went up to this gentleman, and I said, listen, I really have to speak to you about, and he looked at me and he says, listen here, with all due respect, I'm not sure I can help you. Your challenges are unique and different. And all of a sudden, he wasn't that gung-ho. So what am I trying to say? Am I trying to say that there aren't ways for us to do better? No, I'm not trying to say that at all. What I'm trying to tell you is that I was there, and I'm telling you, South Africa, especially the mining industry, we are not behind the curve trying to catch up. There was nobody there that could give me something tangible that I could bring back and say, we can do this better. Very much focused on industry, plants, that type of thing. Nothing for our type of environments. So I think sometimes we're a bit hard on ourselves. We should try a bit harder, but we're not as bad as what we think we are. The rest of the world isn't that far ahead of us. Okay, with that being said, so the need for a buy quiet policy really arose, I think, we had here at Anglo Gold Ashanti, we tried to implement something, we did implement it. It wasn't close to as elaborate to what we are suggesting now, on trying to get suppliers, sort of a sliding scale of people that actually invest in noise reduction and those that don't, and penalize them on the quotes. Very simplified. And me and Dickie talked about it. I did a presentation about it. And then the thought came that, it wasn't actually very successful as AGA because we can't influence industry as one company. And I think it was born from that. But ultimately, on the 21st of August 2013, an industry buy quiet initiative workshop was held. And it was held with GEs, OEMs, and the CM&EEs, and I always forget what that stands for. It's consulting, mechanical, and electrical engineers. Am I correct? Okay, and the engineers. And we got together and we started talking about this buy quiet policy initiative. I don't think there was much agreement on much on that workshop. I think a couple of things that were agreed upon, it was critical for it to be a multidisciplined approach. It can't be only the engineers, it can't be only the group environmental engineers, it can't be only the OEMs. It needs to be everybody together. Another thing that I think we agreed on is that it should be an industry buy and maintain quiet initiative, not just only buy quiet. So from that, the initiative was born, and we also agreed that there must be a multidisciplinary task team set up. That task team met for the first time on the 30th of April 2014 with nominated members that had to go to that meeting. Okay, the first meeting wasn't that great because most in attendance were alternatives, and not the people that were actually elected. Another one was that Mark Maynard actually expressed his view that he would not like to accept the chairmanship, but not personally, by alternate that was there in his place. So that was the status of the first meeting. But with the guys sitting there, and most of them sitting there for their bosses, well, they thought, well, this is an opportune time to start dishing out some work. So they didn't do nothing. They actually drafted work that needs to be done by the nominated people. So they dished out work, and the three things that they looked at was we need a scope and a project of priorities. We need to establish a noise database, and we need the OEM and supplier database also needs to be compiled. On the next meeting, all of the nominated people were there in attendance to ensure that not more work was dished out to them. Mark accepted his fate as chairman, and me, for probably talking too much, was made deputy chairman. On the 13th of November 2014, we realized that there's really three big pieces to this puzzle that we have to work for, and subsequently we set up three different task teams. The one was research consolidation, and that was looking at all the research that was already out there on noise, because we know there's a lot of research. We know not all of it is specific to us, but what we can use from that. Measurements and standards, and that's one of the task teams that I joined with. James was asked to head up that, and that was to provide a measurement standard including testing methodologies. And then procurement, because a big part of this, actually in my view, the part that's going to make or break this is your whole procurement portion. So how do you actually implement this buy quiet policy through your procurement piece? And those were the three task teams. Today we're talking about the measurement and standard. So why measurement and standard? Why was there a task team created for this? Well, we can have this debate probably for a year or two, but there's a lot of different perceptions around how you measure noise. For instance, free field versus at the workplace, spot reading versus work cycle, cumulative noise, where to measure, what spots measurements to take, reverberation, interpretation of the results and the reporting. And I mean, the names were mentioned, Mike de Koker, James van Rensburg, Morne Beukes, Bram Minnaar, and those four names, it was a very interesting debate, okay? And it took a lot of time. Other guys joined in to play referees, and I think we've come up with, I don't think it's going to be something that everybody's going to agree with. I think it's practical, I think it makes sense, and I think it covers most of the bases. So this was, and we also used in 2005, there was a DMR directive on what they called area sampling. That was also used as a base to ensure that we still cover and comply to that directives. So with that being said, I want to close out, and I want to say thanks to, in his absence, to Mark, who was the previous chairman, Mark Maynard, who was the previous chairman, for the effort that he did. I think he did a great job as chairman. And then I want to say to Vaughan, congratulations, sterkte, commiserations. I think it's a great team, but it's a tough task that's laid ahead of us. But no further ado, that's it. Thank you very much.